For about a decade, I thought financial independence was a yes or no question. Either you'd made it or you hadn't. You were free or you were a regular person grinding toward a goalpost that kept moving. Turns out I was wrong about the geometry of the whole thing. Financial independence isn't a switch. It isn't a finish line. It's a staircase. And every honest version of freedom lives on one of five specific rungs, each one with its own emotional state, its own habits, its own math. Today's episode is the map. When I first mapped out my own path to financial independence, I described it as a triathlon. Not because the analogy was clever, because it was accurate. In a triathlon, you don't get to choose your event. You swim first, whether you're ready or not. The water comes at you from every direction. Your arms, your legs, your lungs. Everything is engaged at once just to stay above the surface. You can't slow down too much. Slow down in water, and you sink. That's the swimming phase of financial life. Your income is going every direction it can go. Giving, living, saving, repaying. All four simultaneously fighting for the same dollars. You can't afford to stop. You can't afford to panic. You just have to find your stroke and keep moving toward the other side. Then comes cycling. You have gears now. You can coast occasionally and enjoy the scenery. You can shift into high gear and cover serious ground. But you can't stop completely. If you stop pedaling on a bike, you fall. Cycling requires continued intentional progress, even if the intensity can vary. And then there's running. You've covered the distance the swim and the bike required. You're closer to the finish than to the start. The math has started carrying you. You run because you want to, not because you have to. Most people are stuck somewhere in the swim, convinced they'll never reach the bike. The map I'm about to walk you through is what made the difference for me, because once you can see all five rungs, you stop asking, will I ever get there, and start asking, what does the next rung require? Those are very different questions. One produces anxiety, the other produces action. Stage one, stability. The defining sentence is, I'm no longer drowning. This is the foundation. Not comfort, not progress, just the first breath. After my foreclosure, when we moved out of the house that had been dragging us under and into a one-bedroom apartment with our things in storage, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not success, not pride, relief. The hole was done getting deeper. That's stage one, the return of solid ground. The allocation here is brutal because everything has to get funded at once. 10% to giving, 30% to living, 30% to saving, 30% to debt repayment. Every category at once. Tight, supposed to be tight. The milestones are simple. A starter emergency buffer of $500 to a few $1,000s. Automated bill payments. No more financial surprises. Most people stay in stage one longer than they need to. Not for lack of income, for lack of structure. Money's moving, but it's reacting to emergencies instead of building toward anything. Stage two, momentum. The defining sentence is, my money is moving in the right direction. Quick wins start landing, small balances disappearing, the savings account growing, the credit score climbing. This is also, honestly, the most emotionally seductive stage and the one where impatience causes the most damage. I've been there. The debt tracker checked obsessively multiple times a day. The non-refundable trip booked 8 months out. The hustle spiral where urgency replaced strategy. The antidote isn't slowing down. It's building systems that keep moving even when you're not watching. Automate everything that can be automated. Savings, investments, minimum debt payments on everything except the target account. Because there will be days, weeks, and seasons when you don't have the fight in you. And the system has to carry you through those. Stage two milestones. 1 to 3 months of expenses saved, investment accounts open and contributing, lifestyle creep consciously controlled. Both stages 1 and 2 are still the swimming phase. The water is still coming from every direction. You haven't reached the other side yet, but you can feel it getting closer. Stage 3, autonomy. The defining sentence is, I now have real choices. This is where I am as I write this. The consumer debt is targeted. The mortgage is on a 15-year clock. The investment accounts are generating returns. For the first time in my adult financial life, the money that comes in isn't already 100% spoken for before it arrives. That's what autonomy actually feels like. Not wealthy, not free in the complete sense, in possession of choices I didn't have before. The allocation opens up dramatically. 10% giving, 30 to 45% living, 45 to 60% saving and investing. The living line can breathe. Some of the swimming phase frugality can relax. But the priority is keeping the pedal down on the savings and investment lines, not rewarding yourself with lifestyle creep. Stage 3 is also where the FI number becomes mathematically real. 25 times your annual expenses, the amount you need invested to sustain your lifestyle indefinitely at a 4% withdrawal rate. Knowing your FI number converts the finish line from abstract to specific. I need X, I'm at Y. The gap is Z. Here's the rate I'm closing it. Stage 4, abundance. The defining sentence is, my money is working harder than I am. Your investments are compounding meaningfully. Passive income covers significant portions of your lifestyle. The gap between what your assets generate and what your life costs is narrowing. The work you do is increasingly chosen, not required. Here's the thing about stage 4 most people don't see coming. It's where the identity work from episode 2 becomes visibly important. People who reach stage 4 without doing the identity work often experience a surprising disorientation. They built the financial life they wanted and then discovered the financial life wasn't the point. The people who thrive in stage 4 already know what the money is for. Stage 5, generational freedom. The defining sentence is, my impact outlives me. And importantly, this stage is not primarily about money. It's about legacy, estate planning, strategic giving, teaching financial literacy to your kids and your community, structuring wealth to outlast you in a way that empowers other people rather than just preserving a balance sheet. The allocation here is the simplest of all. 10% giving, 90% living, because your living expenses are covered entirely by your assets. No saving required because the assets sustain themselves. No debt because debt is gone. You run because you want to, not because you have to. That's the finish line, not a number, a state of complete optionality. Now, find yourself on the ladder. Don't overthink it. Where do you feel the most friction? That's almost certainly the stage you're navigating. Where do you feel the most momentum? That's where you're transitioning to. You might find yourself between stages, strong in some areas, underdeveloped in others. That's normal. The ladder is a guide, not a rigid sequence. Life pushes you backward sometimes. A layoff, a medical bill, a grief season. The ladder doesn't break. Your position on it just moves. The work this week is simple. Pick the stage you're currently navigating. Look up the next stage's milestones. I'll link the chapter below. Identify one specific thing that's keeping you on this rung instead of the next. And take one action this week that moves you toward the next rung, even if the move is small. That's the climb. One identified gap, one deliberate move per week, compounded. You're not lost in a fog of someday. You're at a specific place on a known path with specific actions required to reach the next stage. That's the difference between drifting and climbing. If this resonated, the full ladder with allocations, milestones, and the emotional state of each stage is in Chapter 4 of The Unrestricted Life. The first chapter is free at theunrestrictedlife.com/chapter if you want to start there. Subscribe if you want one of these every Monday. Each episode pairs with a chapter, and we're walking through all 5 pillars of an unrestricted life: identity, wealth, the ladder. Next, health. I'll see you next Monday.